Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Mission. Amazing neighborhood. And thank you to Klecha for hosting us today. There you go. We're here today to announce new legislation. The San Francisco allows fencing enforcement on our Streets Act, or Safe Streets Act, to address a significant and growing problem in the Mission and other neighborhoods, specifically the sale of stolen goods on our streets. I want to be clear, we're not talking about the amazing, beautiful street vending that happens in the Mission and in various parts of our city where people sell their prepared food and flowers and crafts and other wonderful products. Street vending makes our city a better place. That's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about the sale of stolen goods. These fencing operations fuel retail theft, because that's where they get the stolen goods, drive out legitimate street vendors who are at times living in fear, and undermines public safety. It needs to stop. I want to thank Mayor Lurie for partnering with us on this legislation and for focusing like a laser on street safety in many respects in San Francisco. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I was glad to see your fentanyl state of emergency ordinance move forward in committee last week. I also want to thank Supervisors Mahmoud and Sauter for being here, as well as our Assessor Recorder, Joaquin Torres. Thank you all for being here. We have been working with amazing community organizations who are really focused on finding a way to have vibrant street vending without having the sale of stolen goods. I want to thank Klecha, Meta, Mission Neighborhood Centers, Galeria de la Raza, La Voz Latina, and many others who have been collaborating with us, working with us, providing great feedback. And most of all, I want to thank all of the street vendors who are here today and those who aren't here today, who add so much vibrancy and beauty to our streets. We began this journey almost a year ago when I introduced the first version of this legislation last year. And we had multiple committee hearings where a large number of our primarily Mission street vendors came up to Sacramento and spent the day. They got to see the good parts and the challenging parts of the California legislative process, and they spoke from the heart to my colleagues in describing what was happening on the streets and why the bill was important. I want to thank them for being here. Este proyecto de ley es para ustedes. And I want to thank Rodrigo Lopez, the president of the Street Vendors Association here in the Mission, for his incredible work and collaboration. I also just want to note that today is National Day Without Immigrants, a day of protest when many immigrants, people who actually allow our economy to function, are staying home to protest policies from the President of the United States that are targeting them with criminalization and mass deportation. San Francisco would not be San Francisco without our immigrant neighbors. Immigrants keep our city running in so many ways, and we stand with our immigrant communities, both with this legislation and in the many challenging fights to come. I want to be very clear that we are distinguishing between our permitted street vendors and people selling stolen goods. I can't say that enough. Sometimes the two get conflated and they have nothing to do with each other. We know that since sometime in 2023, these illegal fencing operations have become increasingly disruptive. In addition to causing more and more retail theft, they pose risks for the street vendors who are just trying to sell their goods, as well as for city workers who have been assaulted as they have attempted to engage in administrative enforcement against these folks who do not have permits. I want to thank our Public Works employees for being here today, and thank you for all the work that you do. We began working last year with Mayor Breed and the Board of Supervisors, and that bill, unfortunately, did not pass, and so we are here again, and again want to thank Mayor Lurie. Unfortunately, because of the chaotic street conditions caused by these fencing operations, the mayor, with the support of Supervisor Ronan at the time, put a moratorium on street vending in this area. And that temporary moratorium remains in place. They felt the need to do that because of the chaos, but of course that is not what we want. We want street vending to happen, but we want it to happen safely. This bill is a very, very focused approach. If someone is selling, the Board of Supervisors will come up with a list of commonly stolen goods, and if someone is selling one of those goods, those commonly stolen goods on the street without a permit, without receipts showing that they purchased it, then they can be cited. And on the third citation, they can be cited with a misdemeanor. So we're not talking about prepared foods, and we're not talking about anyone who has a permit. If you have a permit, this bill simply doesn't apply to you. If you're not selling one of the commonly stolen goods, the bill does not apply to you. Y ahora en español, a los vendedores ambulantes que siguen las leyes, les ayudaremos a volver a hacer negocios en la calle de Misión. Ustedes le dan vida a nuestras calles y queremos protegerlos a ustedes y a sus empresas del desorden que los delincuentes han traído a nuestras comunidades, especialmente en la Misión, con la hija también. Nadie enfrentará sanciones penales por vender alimentos preparados o cualquier cosa obtenida legalmente. Nuestro objetivo es darle a las autoridades policiales un papel limitado y específico para ayudar a responsabilizar a estos delincuentes y al mismo tiempo minimizar su impacto en ustedes. Hemos estado trabajando estrechamente con Rodrigo López, con la Asociación de Vendedores Ambulantes de Misión y otras organizaciones de la comunidad. And now I want to turn it over to our partner in this legislation, Mayor Lurie.
Thank you, Senator Wiener. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to all of you. And where's that beautiful girl? Oh. I'm honored to be here with the small business owners, vendors, community leaders, and advocates who have worked tirelessly to bring safety and prosperity to our city. Rodrigo and the Mission Street vendors, Kletcha, who is hosting today, thank you all for your partnership. Throughout my campaign and as mayor, I've heard from San Franciscans and visitors that they don't always feel safe in our city. So many of us know that feeling just from walking down the street, hearing about break-ins at stores and car thefts. To bring our city back, we need to make sure people are safe and feel safe. This is exactly what I've been focusing on in my first few weeks as mayor. Public safety, tackling the drug crisis, and revitalizing downtown. With the Board of Supervisors, we are advancing our fentanyl state of emergency ordinance so we can get people off the street and into treatment. We brought thousands of people downtown for the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, and we are bringing them back again next year. And today we are taking another important step to keep our residents safe and help our local businesses thrive. Fencing, or the reselling of stolen goods, has disrupted our neighborhoods, fueled retail theft, and undermined our vibrant street vendor community. They bring life to our neighborhoods, they create economic opportunity, and they represent the cultural heart of this city. But the illegal sale of stolen goods has put these vendors at risk, leaving them vulnerable to violence and exploitation, and driving them out of communities where they've built their livelihoods. This bill will give San Francisco the tools we need to crack down on retail theft. with accountability for those who illegally resell stolen goods. It will target the issue directly, allowing law enforcement to issue citations and eventually misdemeanors, and very importantly, confiscate those goods. Let's be clear. This bill will not punish the vast majority of street vendors who are part of the fabric of our city. In fact, it will protect those vendors from the criminal organization fueling this dangerous fencing activity. It will build on our efforts to tackle retail theft and foster an environment where all of San Francisco's vendors, including small local entrepreneurs and our community organizations, can thrive. And together with our fentanyl state of emergency ordinance and our early economic successes, it will keep our city moving in the right direction. Before I close, I want to acknowledge, as the senator said, I want to acknowledge that today is National Day Without Immigrants, which shows how critical our immigrant community is to our city. Through this bill and so much other work we do, it is pivotal that we do everything we can to uplift this community. I'm proud to sponsor this bill as my first state legislation, and I want to thank Senator Wiener for being our partner. Together, we are sending a message that San Francisco is committed to protecting our streets, supporting our vendors, and ensuring the safety of every resident. And together, we will deliver a safer, cleaner, and more prosperous San Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you. As I mentioned, we've worked really hand in glove with our street vendors. And I want to ask two of them to come up. Rodrigo Lopez, who is the president of the Mission Street Vendors Association, and Luz Ledesma Lopez, who is a street vendor.
Great. Good morning and thanks everyone. I'm kind of nervous. I'm not used to do this, but I'm going to try to do my best. My name is Rodrigo Lopez. I am the president of Mission Street Vendors Associations. Our association represents over 100 vendors here in the city of San Francisco. I have lived in the city, San Francisco, for 34 years, and I've been as a vendor for a little bit more than 4 years. My colleagues and I work hard, day in, day out, to provide for our families. The work is hard, and the hours are long. But we do everything we can to earn our living and work closely with the city to do it. Working inside the city permitting system. But the reality is, we don't feel safe doing this work on the streets to date. Which is why we think that this state bill will be good for us and for the community. We will help the city address bad actors while helping the vendors. This bill will help us continue to run our businesses and make the streets safer. Thanks, Senators Wiener and Mayor Lurie, for the help on this bill. We have been meeting with the Mayor's office and Senator's office, and we really appreciated them working with us. The vendors voted unanimously to support this bill, and we hope everyone join us supporting it. Also, I want to say thank you to different experience in this process. These community organizations are essential for the success of these micro businesses and the community in general. También le quiero dar las gracias a las organizaciones de la comunidad porque nos han apoyado, nos han enseñado para este proceso. Para nosotros no es fácil estar aquí, salir adelante porque no sabemos mucho del sistema. So, ellos han sido muy importantes y sin ellos no podríamos salir adelante. So, gracias a las organizaciones de la comunidad y de San Francisco en general. Thank you.
Is Luz here?
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. A ver, a ver. Hola a todos. Es un gusto para mí estar aquí enfrente de todos y que nos den una oportunidad más para escucharnos y saber un poco más de nosotros. Mi nombre es Luz, soy líder y vendedora de la Asociación de Vendedores Ambulantes de la Misión. Somos un colectivo de vendedores ambulantes que hemos trabajado en este vecindario y en esta ciudad durante años y décadas. Luchamos contra la prohibición de la venta ambulante en Mission Street y trabajamos para recuperar el equilibrio para nuestras microempresas. Lo hemos logrado a través de asociaciones productivas con nuestros aliados de la comunidad y funcionarios de la ciudad. Estamos aquí hoy para dar otro paso porque la venta ambulante es una parte crucial de nuestra comunidad y de nuestra cultura. Hemos enfrentado muchos problemas aquí en Mission Street. Y si bien no existe una solución perfecta, hemos trabajado con los líderes de la ciudad y el estado para impulsar algunos cambios que ayuden a mejorar la situación en Mission Street. Seguiremos trabajando con nuestros socios de la ciudad y el estado para seguir creando un mejor entorno para la venta ambulante que sea seguro e inclusivo para todos. También quiero aprovechar para pedir justicia porque aún muchos de nuestros compañeros siguen sufriendo por culpa de esta prohibición. Y estamos en apoyo a ellos también, que queremos que todos los miembros de la asociación sean regresados a su lugar de trabajo porque se ha perdido demasiadas oportunidades y han perdido familiares en el camino. Entonces es algo difícil que sin nosotros poder salir a vender, se complica aún más nuestra economía. Muchas gracias por escucharme.
I'm going to translate for Luz. Hi, my name is Luz. I'm a leader and a vendor with Mission Street Merchants. We are a collective of merchants on Mission Street. We are vital. Let's see. We have been a part of this community for years and decades. We have fought against the prohibitions on vending on Mission Street, and we are working to make an equilibrium on these streets for our micro businesses. Through this organization, we have partnered with our allies in the community and in the government. Today, we are taking another pass at vital state legislation to help our community. We have faced a lot of problems on Mission Street, and there is no perfect solution. But we feel that working with our leaders of the city and state, that we have found a solution that will work for us to improve the street conditions on Mission Street. We will continue fighting. For better conditions on the street and for the Mission merchants. I also want to take this opportunity to note that we are also working to improve conditions for those who are affected by the moratorium, and we want to find justice for them as well. Thank you.
I now want to ask up a few of our great local elected officials. Our assessor recorder, Joaquin Torres, who has very deep roots in this neighborhood, as well as supervisors Sadr and Mahmoud.
Thank you so much, Senator Wiener, y gracias por su español también. Bienvenidos, and to Mayor Lurie for your support of this extraordinary effort to support our diversity of our communities. And I want to thank, of course, Glecha, but all the individual vendors, and also the diversity of neighborhoods that are here behind us that stand in solidarity with smart policy to support communities during a time of need for safety, for commerce, for culture and the economic vibrancy of San Francisco, aquí en La Misión, here in the Mission. Gracias por venir. And again, Senator Wiener, look forward to doing whatever we can in Sacramento to help support this effort together with you as well. Mayor Lurie, thank you so much for diving into this issue to support the community here in San Francisco. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Danny Sauter, the District 3 Supervisor here because, and I cannot emphasize this enough, what happens on our streets in one neighborhood in San Francisco affects all of San Francisco. Our streets are the literal connective tissue that link our neighborhoods and link every corner of our city. And so when our streets are in disorder, all of San Francisco is in disorder. When our streets are challenged, San Francisco is challenged. And so standing here with colleagues to support this, because this is a good step forward. This will make it more possible for families to walk their children to school safely, for visitors from around the country and world to come to San Francisco and enjoy San Francisco, and then to go back and spread the message of a positive visit. And that is so important in this moment. I want to thank Senator Wiener for carefully crafting this legislation. This has to be done, and it has been done in a very careful way so that it uplifts all that is good about our streets, all that is good about our vendors, our small businesses, our community, and instead it actually focuses on what we don't want, which is the fencing, which is the stolen goods, which is impacting retail stores in every single corner of this city. And so I want to appreciate Senator Wiener's leadership on this and commit as a member of our Board of Supervisors to making sure that this program is implemented safely so that we support our merchants standing here this morning and that we improve our conditions on the streets of San Francisco. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bilal Mahmoud. I am the supervisor of District 5, which includes the Tenderloin, where I also live as well. The issue of illegal street vending affects the mission, but as Danny mentioned, it affects many neighborhoods across the city, including the Tenderloin. And it's this type of vending, which is an important thing to note, is part of an ecosystem surrounding our fentanyl crisis as well. It perpetuates an unfortunate cycle of petty theft that impacts local businesses in hopes of selling enough to purchase highly addictive drugs. But even more importantly, all of us in the community pay a price. From the businesses who are formed by immigrants from Palestine and Yemen and the Tenderloin who are come to our country in search of a better life and upward mobility, to the neighbors and families who are also children and seniors and immigrants and refugees from China, Vietnam, India, Pakistan, who just want to take their children home from school and back to school safely and not have to walk through crowded sidewalks or past drug dealers or illegal vendors on our streets. So it is time to hold those engaged in illegal fencing accountable and change this perception on behalf of our communities. It is time to show that our families and our small business owners, from the Tenderloin to the Mission, that we have their back. And that's why I'm here to support Senator Wiener's legislation. And I wanted to thank again Mayor Lurie for sponsoring this legislation as well, to take action and help keep our streets safe for our families, for our children, and for the next generation as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And then finally, I want to bring up a couple of great community leaders. Ryan Motzek, the president of the Mission Vendors, of the Mission Merchants Association. Sorry, I'm like, wrong word here. Mission Merchants Association. And William Ortiz Cartagena, the founder of CLECHA and the Latino Task Force's subcommittee chair for small business.
Greetings. My name is Ryan Motzek. I serve as the board president of the Mission District Merchants Association. I stand before you today in unwavering support of our street vendors. For decades, street vending has been the cornerstone of our community, embodying the true spirit of entrepreneurship and independent business ownership. These vendors serve our neighborhood day and night, rain or shine. Unfortunately, in the wake of the pandemic, our community has become a hotspot for fencing, rampant theft, and even the extortion of our beloved street vendors. One of the most disheartening aspects of the crisis has been the conflation of illegal fencing with legitimate, honest vending. Make no mistake, equating the two is deeply unfair to those that are simply trying to make an honest living, paying their bills to put food on their table for their family. We are grateful that action has been taken to improve street conditions for residents, visitors, brick and mortar businesses, and street vendors alike. The Mission District is and always should be a safe, clean neighborhood where hardworking entrepreneurs can thrive. My commitment to this community is to support all true small businesses that are striving to make an honest living. I thank everybody that has worked so hard to uplift the entrepreneurs, and I look forward to seeing our street vendors thrive, free from harassment and mistreatment. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Today I want to start with a statement to say strongly and proudly that today is a day without immigrants, and that the Mission District and San Francisco resolve to support our immigrant community will never waver or falter. Today we stand at El Tiangue, a place where mostly immigrant vendors independently sell their wares, and collectively today they decided to stand with the immigrant community and not sell anything today. The Mission District has always been home to street vending. It's always been part of our culture and has been a fabric of our community. But I want to be loud when I say fencing and criminality has never, never been part of our culture. In San Francisco and Mission District, our resolve to continue to be the beacon of the American dream will always, always stay. And we will continue to work hard for our street vendors and our small businesses in our community to have a prosperous, fruitful, and an environment where they could thrive and prosper for future generations. Thank you.
Thank you to all our speakers. That concludes our program, and we're happy to answer a few questions. Yes?
Senator, we've seen a crackdown on this before in the previous administration, but last time it ended up hurting a lot of those legal street vendors. So do a lot of them regularly carry these permits or receipt of goods? Is that what's different this time?
Yeah, so what this bill will do is provide the city with a much more effective tool to be able to crack down on the people who are fencing stolen goods on our streets. There was a state law passed in 2018, and that there are parts of California that, unlike San Francisco, do not embrace street vendors, and they criminalize them and they harass them. And so there was a bill to say, let's move enforcement away from the police and towards administrative enforcement, which in San Francisco would be the Department of Public Works. And that that can work extremely well. But we're seeing that there are situations in San Francisco where that's not working well. And we need to have a very focused, limited police involvement to protect public safety. So we don't have that tool currently. And so that's why we saw the moratorium enacted, which, has been, I'm not criticizing it for being put in because it was a terrible situation, but it's really been harmful to the legitimate street vendors who just want to conduct their business. And so this will provide a new tool for San Francisco to deal with this issue.
Do you think those differences will help it get further along in the legislature this time?
Well, last year we started, because we took a lot of time early in the year to work with the community on the contours of the bill. We didn't introduce it as early as would have been ideal. But we took our time. We wanted to get it right. And so we introduced it. It was later in the session. That always creates complexities. The bill was getting broad bipartisan support. And ultimately did not pass. I've learned to never predict what will happen with any bill in the California legislature. But we have a path to get this passed, and I think we're going to have very broad support.
So this legislation is only for San Francisco?
It's only for San Francisco, yes.
And is part of the hope here that the effectiveness of this legislation will help pave the way for the ban on vendors to be lifted?
In San Francisco?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is the time? Is the ban right now indefinite, or when does it?
When does it expire? Oh, when does it expire?
It's just been extended actually. To
June
June 30th.
30th. June 30th. Yeah. Any other questions?
What are the types of commonly stolen goods that this bill's trying to crack down on?
Yeah, I'm not going to be exhaustive, but I think when you walk down the street and you see someone who's selling like deodorant and you're like, hey, I just saw that in a Walgreens, I think it's pretty obvious to a lot of people when something is stolen. And now perhaps the person has a permit to sell deodorant and they have the receipts and they've purchased it. That's probably not extremely likely, but it's, there are pharmacies, our small businesses that are having a lot of stuff stolen. I think people know it when they see it, and the Board of Supervisors will have to go through a process to put together a focused list of these commonly stolen goods.
Question for you and the Mayor. Trump's attempt to rescind federal funding is back in the courts today. How concerned are you that that's going to affect services and operations here in San Francisco, things that would potentially support some of these efforts?
Yeah, well, we know that the president I think thinks he's a king, and I think he said that God sent him to do this. So he has a certain image of his authority that he doesn't actually have. And he has a lot less power than he thinks he has. And he's issued a series of completely illegal executive orders, including one to freeze so much trillions of dollars of federal funding that would have thrown people off of health care immediately, that would have taken low-income children and thrown them out of their safety net, would have cut public education, and so on and so forth. We are, as a state, the Attorney General Rob Bonta joined other states, and they got that struck down, and we're going to do that as many times as we need to, because he's not a king. He has to follow the law, even though he doesn't like following the law, and we're going to do everything in our power to protect California, to make sure people can keep health care, that our kids can be educated, that we can build infrastructure projects and do all the things that we need to do. We've done this before. In Trump 1, we had to sue him a bunch, and we overwhelmingly won those lawsuits. We're taking this very, very seriously.
To be quite honest, I'm here today to focus on the fencing activity. We got enough issues right here in San Francisco that we got plenty to focus on right here, right now, on behalf of these amazing vendors and this vibrant community. I think everybody in San Francisco wants me focusing on how do we uplift this community, and I'm going to.
Mayor, do you have any comments on how the Trump tariffs might impact some of these vendors and local businesses? I know the Mexico one was extended, but still imminent.
Taken down. Yeah, I mean, once again, if I were focusing on everything national, I wouldn't be able to focus on our local residents and communities here. That's what I'm focused on. Things change, it seems, hourly, but what doesn't change is my focus on lifting up this community. This bill with State Senator Scott Wiener and with the support of the supervisors. And I also want to shout out Carla from Department of Public Works, our police chief, Bill Scott. We are all coming together to make sure that we help legitimate business owners and small business vendors and people that care deeply about this community get an upper hand with this fencing. They're undercut every day, and so that's my focus. That's why I'm here today, so I appreciate the question.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.